This is the Sikkim Podcast, presented by your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Online at alansamuelsdcj.com. The Sikkim Podcast is a production of Baylor Athletics. Now, here are your hosts, Brooke Bednarz and the voice of the Bears, John Morris.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Sikkim Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics. Hey, we're glad you're with us this week. John Morris and Brooke Bednarz. Brooke, let's go down the runway for pole vaulting today with Baylor Track and Field. How about that?
That was smooth, John.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And meeting us on the runway or guiding us down the runway, we welcome in Brandon Richards, the pole vault coach for Baylor Track and Field. Brandon, good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. It's good to see you. And how about KC Lightfoot with us, fresh off.
That's a name some people might recognize.
I think so. Fresh off a Big 12 indoor championship and having a fantastic year and career. KC, it's good to see you again.
Heck yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much. All right, you guys very nice and relaxed here as we record this, and I'm guessing KC feeling pretty good about how things have gone through the indoor portion of the schedule.
Oh, of course. I mean, there's not too much to be too disappointed as. I mean, the main thing is really just kind of staying injury-free. That's one of the biggest things. I mean, results are one thing, but, I mean, you can't have results if you're injured or if you get COVID or anything. So, I mean, it's just trying to stay safe and healthy is the big thing, but the results they're coming along too.
Tell us a little bit about this year. Obviously, we have all of the stats. I mean, this year alone, since 2021, you've set the collegiate record 3 different times, beating yourself. Just walk us through what the preparation was like going into 2020. Last year was crazy, as we all know. And so to get to this point, to be in this indoor season, and to have it go as well as it's gone for you so far, just tell us all about that.
Yeah, it's been a good year for sure. Last year we were rolling into NCAAs right about this time, and I got shut down. But I mean, then outdoor season was canceled about a week later, really. But I mean, in the way that I went through it, I couldn't stop training. You know what I mean? So it was like I had to keep going because the Olympics weren't canceled yet. So there was still hope there. I mean, I think we all kind of knew that it was inevitable. It was probably going to happen, but you couldn't just stop. And I mean, being an athlete, you know that if you just stop and you take all those months off, you got to get them all back. So I mean, I trained all the way through the summer, through the outdoor season. I had some like small meets kind of throughout the summer whenever it was starting to die down a little bit and it was a little less strict on all the rules. But yeah, I mean, I worked real hard in the off season, and then I worked real hard last summer, and I think it's finally just kind of starting to have time to show through, and I really think it is.
I was listening to some of the interviews that you've done recently because you've been on everyone's radar as of late, and there was one, I saw a picture of something that you keep above your bed. Can you kind of walk us through what that is and how meaningful it was that you were able to add your name to that list?
Yeah, that was a big one. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of people didn't know about that one. It just kind of came out in an interview, and then I've been asked quite a few times about it actually. But it was a list that I found in, I think it was like August of 2018 or something like that, and it was of all the 6-meter jumpers, and that's kind of the magical bar of pole vaulting. And I printed it out and I put it behind my pillows, like right above the bed frame. So it was just always there. It was just always kind of just a little reminder thing. But yeah, I've always wanted to sign it for sure. And the other day I finally got the 6-meter bar and I got to write my name on Sharpie in there. So that was a pretty good goal accomplished.
I like the added addition of Sharpie.
Yeah.
Not pen, permanent ink.
Hey, that's permanent. That's not going away anytime soon. I remember when you finally got there, you know, the magical 6 meters, when you topped that, you were on the Sports Center's top 10 that night. That was cool.
Yeah, I was on Sports Center a couple times. I don't remember. One of them was top 10. The other one was just on Sports Center, like highlights. I don't remember which one was which, though.
Yeah, very good. I mean, that's great. That's great notoriety for you, but for your sport, you know, and for pole vaulting, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely the last couple of years with Mondo Duplantis. A lot of people know that name. He's been broke the world record twice in 2 weeks, and then now kind of I'm showing some light in collegiate. I mean, it's not the most popular event, so it's nice to have a couple big names out there that are kind of getting it out there and getting people to view it, and maybe might try to get some more people to try it. So it's always good whenever you can get some publicity to kind of grow the sport.
How did you get involved in the sport?
Oh man, it was a long time ago. But I used to play baseball for a long time. I thought that's what I was going to do. But my dad actually did it in high school and college. That's kind of the typical thing for most people, because most people don't just see it and like, yeah, I want to try that. But yeah, my dad did it in high school and college. And one day he was like, hey, you should try this. And I was like, all right. He was like, I think you'll be pretty good at it. So, I mean, I tried it a couple times, and it kind of just, it went off. It started on a good note, we'll put it that way. And I had fun with it, and that's kind of the important thing. So, I mean, I wrote it out and stuck with it, and here we are.
At what age? So what age did you start?
I was 13, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that junior high?
That's
or I guess you weren't.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't really through a school then, was it?
It was like
no,
middle school.
It was like
middle
in middle
school.
school. It was like in between 7th and 8th grade, I
Okay.
think, like the summer.
All right. Very good. Very good. And kind of found your niche there. I'm guessing
I
you're.
would say so.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're a good enough athlete if you wanted to go back to baseball, or you wanted to go out there, or whichever path you would have chosen, you'd have been pretty good at it.
Yeah, I've always wondered that, because you never know.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I still love to play baseball, go to the batting cages, or just play catch with my brothers and sisters. So it's always fun.
There's only one Motor Trend Truck of the Year. It's Ram from Allen Samuels. Now, kick off the new year with remarkable savings on new Rams during the Allen Samuels Start Something New sales event. This special New Year's event is underway right now, and you can save thousands on new Rams. Ram, for your family, farm, or business, and Waco's most trusted dealer, Allen Samuels. Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Your friend in the car business.
Whether on the field or cheering from home, Du Bois Furniture is proud to support the Baylor Bears. If your bear cave needs updating, Du Bois Furniture is here to help. With over 59 years of our family serving yours, let our experienced sales team help you find exactly what you want. We specialize in custom upholstery, stunning dining rooms, elegant bedrooms, gorgeous leather, and top quality mattresses. Come see us in Waco and Temple, or visit us online at DuBoisFurniture.com. Du Bois Furniture, where beautiful homes happen.
Now, back to the Sikkim Podcast, presented by your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat.
Well, Coach, we need to talk with you a little bit and how you, have seen him develop in his few years here. But just in general, before we get into KC and y'all's working relationship, I want to hear about you and your history with pole vaulting. It's kind of a family affair for you.
It is. My dad's Bob Richards, a two-time gold medalist. He won in 1952 and 56 and won a bronze in 1948. He's the only pole vaulter in history to ever win a gold medal twice. So it kind of runs in our family. All my brothers did it. In fact, I need to recalculate it, but for the longest time, we've held the world family pole vault record.
Oh, wow.
And it was 126 feet, some change, but I need to recalculate it up. Since Riley came through, he kind of upped his PR some. So, but it definitely runs in the family. We're definitely pole vaulters.
I don't think any family's topping that. I think you guys kind of put that one out of sight, out of reach.
Yes, sir.
That's great. How we were talking before we came on. How's your dad? He's still here in the Waco area. How's he doing?
He is. He's doing great. He's slowing down a little bit because of his age, but he's still very active. And like I was mentioning to you, he still keeps the golf links hot and heavy.
Good for him.
So he stays in shape. His mind's very well, and so he's doing really good.
I think, Brooke, it's a little before your time. It was actually a little before my time, but I think of Bob Richards as the first athlete on a Wheaties box. Is that correct?
That's not correct.
Okay, all right.
There were a few before him, I think Babe Ruth and a couple of them, but he was the first track athlete.
There you go, okay.
Pole vaulter ever.
He's in good company on a Wheaties box.
And a little side note, he was the longest running on the front of the Wheaties box.
Oh,
but
nice.
He was not the first.
Yeah, okay.
That is so cool.
Isn't that great?
That is so cool.
Yeah.
We're going to have to find a picture of that.
Yeah, well, I would say I have one. I've got Michael Johnson Wheaties box here. I don't have one with Bob Richards. So
I think I can dig one up for you.
Oh, now
Yeah.
that would be nice.
Yes.
That would be nice. But Brandon, working with KC now, and you're working with Tuesday Tidwell, who won the Big 12 indoor on the women's side. Congratulations. Baylor swept both of those. And then Annie Rhodes, now Annie Rhodes-Johnigan before that. You're having a good run of not good, but great pole vaulters.
Well, I'm having a blast doing it, and it's a way for me to give back to the sport a little bit, because I do have some knowledge on the vault and some experience with it. And so for me, it's just a great way to give back to the kids. And I just want to say I'm very, very blessed to have these great athletes to be able to work with. So that's a big part of it.
What was your journey like to working at Baylor? Because this is your 8th season now with the Bears.
I started in 2014, I believe, and it's about 8 years. I originally, because of Annie, because I worked with her a little bit, and so I saw that they needed a little bit of help in the pole vault, so I started working with her and decided to come on at Baylor as a volunteer coach. The sidebar to that would be my son Riley, who was a sophomore at the time, so I envisioned him becoming a Baylor Bear, so I was kind of laying the groundwork for that.
That's right.
Here you go. Here's the runway you can run down.
So that worked out good.
Casey, what about Coach Richards, about this entire program, about Baylor, made you decide that this is where you wanted to spend your collegiate career?
It was a tough decision for sure because I went to I took my 5 official visits to a bunch of good schools, and there's not too many like pole vault schools. That was kind of one thing that you have to look at it if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
And it's such a specific and unique event. Not all schools want to invest in it. So Baylor was one of them for sure. But really, I think one of the main decisions was you can't narrow it down to one for sure. But one big one was definitely our trainers, and our training room is really good. Our academic support is really good. I've known Coach Richards and his son for a long time, so that definitely helps. But we just have a lot of amenities that weren't quite the same level at some of the other schools, so it kind of all boiled down to a big decision. I couldn't narrow it down to one though.
And well, there was a Baylor connection too, growing up, right?
There was a Baylor connection. That didn't have too much to do with it, but there was. Yeah,
right.
My coach Cooper, whenever he started training me whenever I was young,
right?
He was a Baylor Bear. He's still on the all-time top 10 list, I think.
You had knocked him completely off the top 10
I'm pretty sure he's still on there somewhere.
Was he ever in your ear, even subtly about Baylor, or he was your coach and wanted the best wherever that was for you?
It was more of he was my coach, and
That's
he kind of
good.
wanted the best for wherever I wanted to go. He was gonna be behind me. He was gonna support my decision. So yeah.
Did he tell you stories about when he was jumping here?
I've heard some stories.
Hey, man, whatever he said is probably true. Brandon, you remember this.
Oh, sure.
Those guys, it was Todd Cooper, it was Bill Payne, it was David Hodge, and those guys were just competing against each other, more than any other, competing against any other team. They were great when they were here. That was a great group of pole vaulters.
Sure. Well, actually, Bill Payne came a little bit later after.
Oh, okay.
It was Todd Cooper, David Hodge, and Mike Chaffee.
I'm sorry. Yeah, thanks very much.
And they were as far as I know, the first collegiate pole vault team to all 3 go 18 feet in the same meet.
How about that?
And so that was they were a very strong pole vault crew for sure. And then years later, Bill Payne and myself and Chris Bohannon came along.
Okay.
And we were the second pole vault team to ever jump. All 3 of us jumped 18 feet in the same meet.
How about that? Yeah.
So that kind of worked out nice. And coincidentally, Todd was his high school coach, but he was my coach when I was here at Baylor. So
oh, is that right?
Todd and I were on the same page a lot as far as coaching style and technique, right. And so that kind of worked well for KC.
Yeah.
Easy transition.
Yeah. Could you see, Todd's kind of fingerprints on KC, having coached him, and then when he got here to Baylor?
Oh, sure. Coming out of high school, he was 18.5 high schooler and jumped over 18 feet 12 times as a senior. So, and, I talked with Todd. We're best friends even to this day. We fly a lot together. But anyway, I knew he had a lot of potential. And coming out of high school, he was probably had one of the best approaches and best takeoffs in the game. So While he's been here at Baylor, I've just been working on his top end, getting a little tighter and, getting more efficient coming off the top of the pole. But like I said, he was one of the world's best on the approach and takeoff. So I had very good things to work with coming out of high school.
It's a calling that's kept us free. It's a place to belong. What's the calling? It's doing a job that makes a difference. Serving your community and your country. It's part-time service where the impact is full-time. What's your calling? Air Force Reserve. AFReserve.com.
If you need a trailer, Flat Rock Trailers has got you covered. From light-duty single-axle utility trailers to the Big Tex tandem duals. We also carry a full line of enclosed cargo trailers. Need a motorcycle trailer? We've got them. Need a dump trailer? We've got the largest selection in the state. Oil field trailers? We carry a full line of Big Tex trailers to handle all your needs. Trailer repairs? We repair all makes and models. We'll even rent you a trailer if you need to use one for a day. Flat Rock Trailers, your #1 source for all your trailer needs. Find us at flatrocktrailers.com.
TNG can, and here's why.
To say my wife and I have a lot to clean is an understatement. So we go to TNG Chemical, where the pros know what cleaning solutions to use and give us detailed instructions on exactly how to use them. We never got that kind of advice from any other stores. And the prices at TNG are great. From general household cleaners to odor control solutions for our pets. We go to TNG Chemical and Supply. That's why.
TNG Chemical and Supply. That's why.
You're listening to the Sick'em Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics. Here again are Brooke Bednarz and John Morris.
Tuned into the Sick'em Podcast, production of Baylor Athletics, presented by Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, on the web at allensamuelsdcj.com. Visiting with Baylor pole vault coach Brandon Richards and junior KC Lightfoot. And you guys, is there anything left indoors? Or is the next meet? Oh, the Indoor Nationals are coming up next, right? That's KC next on the schedule.
Yeah,
it's a big one.
And that is in Arkansas. What does that look like? I know you guys know very well, the facilities, the runway, things like that. KC, what's it like at Arkansas?
Hey, Arkansas is a good place. There's been a lot of national championships there. A lot of fast times are run there too, just for like sprints. There's been some high jumps. The runway was getting it's a board runway, so I mean it was getting a little worn out. But I know that they resurfaced it just recently, so it'll be a good runway for sure. It'll be a good setup.
How prepared do you feel going into this meet?
Oh, I feel great. There's, like we were talking about earlier, I mean, there's not too much that's gone too bad through the season, so I mean, I got some confidence coming into the meet, and that's always a positive thing. But pole vault's one of those things, you never know what's going to happen. So, but I mean, I feel good. Training's been going well. I feel strong. I mean, there's nothing for me to worry about right now.
You just had your 5th 5.9 meter meet in a row. That is crazy.
Right.
I feel bad saying it in meters for people to, what is that quick translation to feet?
590 is 19.4 1/4.
19 feet. That is crazy. Thank you for that translation. But, just knowing that consistency is key, and then you've had that shot, you've hit 6 meters, and then you've even attempted 6.02. You got to feel really, really good about the consistency behind all your jumps, and that it wasn't just you got to 6 meters, on a fluke.
Yeah, consistency is one of the biggest things in pole vault, because if you go overseas or you go professional or something, you start trying to win money. I mean, yeah, you might get one real good jump, but you want to stay consistent, and you can get a lot more money that way if you're talking the professional level. But I mean, even not a professional level, if you're trying to go that route, I mean, consistency, you see numbers, it's like, yeah, it looks better if you see 90, 94, 95, 6 meters than if you saw like 20, 6 meters, 20, like just kind of one of those things. But yeah, I mean, I saw some stat not too long ago that it said like the record for Americans indoors was 3 meets in a row over 590, and I tied that, and then I jumped it 2 more times after that, so now I have 5. So
wow.
I guess that's a little fun fact.
Gee.
That is a fun fact.
That's consistent also.
That is consistent.
That is major consistency. What's the part of your makeup, KC, personality-wise? I mean, you got to be a little bit of a daredevil to be a pole vaulter. I think in track and field, you can go out there. Pretty much anybody can go out there, and they can run at some level. They can,
not very
toss
well
a shot. Well, I'm saying
meh.
at some level. Any of the events, really. I mean, even going over a hurdle, most people could do that. But pole vaulting, I mean, it's its own animal there, and I would guess you'd have to have the personality to want to, throw your body 19 feet in the air.
Backwards.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique event, and it's not for everybody. They do say that most pole vaulters are crazy in some way, and I believe it for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hear it a lot. It's like I say anybody can pole vault, but not anybody can pole vault well.
There you go.
So it's one of those things. It's like if you're not pole vaulting well, then the chance of injury gets a lot higher. But yeah, it's different than just running around the track and turning left.
Yeah, exactly. Is there or was there a fear factor that you had to get over? I mean, anything like that, even when you were a lot younger?
No, I mean I was a pretty active kid whenever I was growing up. I always liked to go cliff jumping into water, of course.
There you go.
I rode dirt bikes growing up, so I did a bunch of things that you could also kind of put the adrenaline rush to.
Yeah.
But whenever I started pole vaulting, it wasn't anything too crazy because you got to remember I started and I was only jumping 8 foot.
Yeah,
so
true.
It's like whenever you progress,
only 8 foot.
Right.
Only 8 foot.
But whenever you progress, and it's not like it's still progressing slowly, of course. I mean, it has come over the last few years pretty strong. But I started from 8 foot, went to 9 foot, 10 foot. I went through all the stages, so it was nothing. There wasn't any like massive, crazy jumps in there that were just so out of the ordinary. So I mean, I got used to it pretty quick.
I gotcha. Brandon, you've been around the sport your whole life, really. Do you see in pole vaulters maybe a characteristic, personality trait that makes them want to do this or makes them successful?
And now you're categorizing yourself.
And yourself, yeah.
Well, for years it's been kind of joked about that if you were going to create a pole vaulter, Frankenstein style,
right?
Yeah.
That you'd have to have the speed of a sprinter, you'd have to have the agility of a gymnast, and you'd have to have the strength of a weightlifter. And also in those ingredients, you have to be half crazy.
Right.
But I say that jokingly, half crazy, but it's more you have to be mentally sound.
Sure.
You have to be strong mentally, and no doubt, no fears. And it's hard because, like this kid here, we're getting him on 520, which are 17-foot poles that are 13.3, 13.0 flex. It's a stiff pole. And you have to be mentally right to be able to plant those kind of poles, no matter how good you are. So the mental aspect of it is huge.
Mm-hmm. Now explain that to.
I was about to say, let's go into there's a whole thing about poles and the different stiffness of them and the length and all the things. I learned a little bit from Annie, but that's something, when our women's basketball team and our men's basketball team pick up a ball, it's the same ball no matter where they go. But you guys have a different, options.
Well, you have options of the length of the pole, how high you can grip on it, and that is a result of how fast you are and how tall you are with your levers and so forth. So the length of the pole with your hand grip is a part of it, and then also the stiffness of the pole. He weighs right around 165-ish. Your poles are rated 205?
210,
210s.
maybe.
So he's jumping on poles that are literally, 40, 50 pounds above his weight.
Good grief.
So when you load, if you think about like a spring, if you load that spring and that spring is going to throw 40 pounds extra weight, it's going to give you a launch.
Right.
So, but there's that. What do you have to say?
What they're made of.
You're the one planting them.
I mean, yeah, sometimes. What they're made of is a lot different kind of too. There's mine that I jump on are fiberglass right now, but there's some kind of, I guess you could say, newer kind of deals that are they got some carbon fiber in them. So there's a bunch of different things. Poles are always one of those tough topics because they're just so hard to explain.
There's only one Motor Trend Truck of the Year. It's Ram from Allen Samuels. Now, kick off the new year with remarkable savings on new Rams during the Allen Samuels Start Something New sales event. This special New Year's event is underway right now, and you can save thousands on new Rams. Ram, for your family, farm, or business, and Waco's most trusted dealer, Allen Samuels. Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Your friend in the car business.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
This is the Sikkim Podcast, presented by your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat in Waco. Online at allensamuelsdcj.com.
This is the Sikkim Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we invite you to subscribe, download wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple. It's on the Baylor website at BaylorBears.com. We'd love to have you subscribe and tune in each week for a new edition of the Sikkim Podcast. What about the marks we talked about, men's and women's? Brandon, in your time here, going back to Annie Rhodes, back to your time here coaching, but with Annie Rhodes and Tuesday now, and now freshman Alex Kubicek on the women's side, it is an impressive run of outstanding pole vaulters.
They've done a great job, and they're making my job easy, and they're making me look good as well. It's mainly the athletes. I've been very blessed and be able to recruit some good kids here, and Annie helped with that, starting with her reputation. But it's been a good run, and Baylor's a great place to be. We've got good facilities. We've got great support. We're a Christian school. It's not very hard to recruit to Baylor. It's kind of sells itself.
Yeah. We've been quarter miler U forever. Maybe we're pole vaulter U now, you think? Or add that to quarter miler U?
Well, you can never take away the history of the quarter mile here at Baylor. Michael Johnson and the whole raft of them, they've made history.
Right,
so
right.
You can't argue that. But pole vault is coming on strong, and I don't know if we'll call ourselves Pole Vault U yet, but we're getting close.
Maybe one day. Well, of the marks that John was just talking about, the top 13 indoor men's marks all belong to this young man right here. And then as of late, let's just go through the 3 collegiate records that he set this year: 5.94 meters, 5.95 meters, and then the magic number, 6 meters. Coach, I want to hear from you when you were witnessing him meet those records, break those records, and to have him continually progress each weekend. We're kind of jealous because they were all out in Lubbock and in front of all of their fans, but to be there and to see that and to have had him, with him all throughout these years and to have him finally hit that magical mark, what was that like for you?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was a moment to remember for sure. That being said, I wasn't very surprised that it happened because I was kind of expecting it based on his first 2 years here and then the great training that he did during the COVID lockdown there. He was making 580, 19-foot bars from medium run, 6 lefts. So, and we had raised his grip. That was the one thing we wanted to do this year. He was gripping about, 16.1-ish. And then I said, KC, we got to raise your grip up there. And so now he's gripping about 16.5. So we've gotten about 4 inches grip raise out of him.
And what's the benefit of that?
Well, if you can hold higher, you can jump higher, basically.
Okay.
But I wasn't surprised at all. I knew it was coming. But to actually witness it, it's a thing of beauty. A 6-meter bar, sometimes they say the elusive bar. Mm-hmm. And that 6-meter bar is definitely elusive. Mm-hmm. And you have to be on your game. Everything has to be clicking just right. You have to be physically sound, mentally sound, ready to go. But the way he was jumping bars, 2 or 3 meets before that, he if you average heights, I mean, 94, 90, 95, 6 meter, he's averaging right at about 595, which is incredible.
Wow.
So that being said, I mean, I knew it was a matter of time. And this last meet, he took really close attempts at 6 meters again, but first attempt ever at 6:02, and felt like a pretty high bar, didn't it?
That was my first time. I went 6:02 after I jumped 6 meters.
That's right. I forgot.
Where? Here in practice?
No, it was at the meet.
At the meet. You attempted it, right.
Yeah,
but you didn't clear it. I got you. That's right.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah.
So, Casey, I do want to, when you hit 6 and you watch them raise that bar up there so you could attempt it, and as it's getting moved up, what's going on in your mind before you hit it?
At 6 meters?
Yes.
Oh, at the 6 meters was the big one for sure. Because I mean, I've done it. I had it a couple times before that. I attempted after 94. I attempted after 95. So I had a couple meets attempting it and never kept it up there. And it was what made the whole thing even worse. Worse, not exactly worse, but
yes.
but it was the third attempt. So yeah, there was a lot of emotions running through. So so yeah, I took my first 2 at 6 meters, and then like even whenever where it's at, like after I jumped 90 before 6 meters the first time. Yeah, 90, and then I went to 6 meters after that, and it's like it feels weird sometimes saying it because you're like, what do you want to go to next? And I'm like, 6 meters. I mean, it's time. We got to do it now. Yeah. And it's like it's kind of weird even saying that. But then you get back to the back of the runway, and it's not that crazy because I've jumped at it before now. But yeah, it's crazy because it's way up there for sure. I mean, like I said, I took multiple shots at it before I finally kept it up there, and people always ask, they're like, "Man, you blew up 94, you blew up 95. What happened at 6 meters?" And I'm like, guys, it's just really high up
There's
there.
a little gap there.
I'm like, it's just really high up there. It was like, I missed it. It was still a great jump, but it's just everything has to be so perfect. Yeah. So I'm glad that it's starting to become more of a normal thing. I mean, it definitely takes some of the pressure kind of nerves that just are standard that come along with it off.
So when you hit the 6, is that when you did the backflip?
Oh man, yeah, that's when I did the backflip. I got a lot of comments on the backflip because I mean, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty, but I had no. At
that point, it doesn't matter what it looked like.
No intentions of doing the backflip. Yeah, I wish it was better. I really do because I got a lot of comments on it, and I'm really good at backflips. Is the moral of the story. But there was so much emotions running through. Like I popped up off the pit. I knew it stayed. It was a third attempt, so there was extra emotions from that. And I kind of landed on my heels after I bounced back up, and through some fist bumps, I was already falling backwards, and I knew I was gonna rotate at least to get around and land on my knees. And yeah, then I saw the video afterwards, and I knew I was going to get a bunch of comments about it.
Hey, nobody's faulting you for that at all.
The
it was
one
very
that
spontaneous.
was supposed to be perfect was perfect.
Yeah. I mean, you were thinking clearing the bar. You weren't thinking about the post celebration. That was great.
You jump 6 meters, you can react however
you want to. Exactly, and it's all going to be good.
I do have one follow-up question because I asked Kellen, the SID here with us today, I asked him this, and he said he wasn't 100% sure, so I want to feel y'all out. So it does stand out to me that you have cleared 6 meters and that you attempt that regularly, and then you skipped 6.01, which is the American, correct? And you just went straight to 6.02. What's the mindset behind that? You don't even want to attempt to tie it. You just want to
I don't
win it outright.
Yeah, I don't want to tie it. I want it to be mine.
I love that.
That's good. That's a great mentality.
Yeah.
So NCAA Indoors coming up in a couple of weeks, March 12th and 13th in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We talked about that. Then you go outdoors. Explain to all of us the difference in your sport indoors compared to outdoors.
The biggest difference is the weather.
Right.
I mean, you can jump in. The temperature is obviously an important factor, but I wouldn't say it's the most important factor. The most important factor for us is probably wind. Because, I mean, whenever you look at it, you're holding a you're running with a 17-foot stick and you're trying to stick it in a 8-inch thing on the ground. And I mean, if you got wind blowing, it's like you're carrying a sail.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going all over the place, and with too much wind, it just becomes kind of a safety factor. So that's our biggest risk factor and kind of decider on like how the meet's kind of gonna play out.
Any wind? I mean, no wind is great. But is a little tailwind good, or I mean, you'll take that, right?
A little tailwind is what you always hope for.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But that can't be too much, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's more of a limit on that one. I mean, you can take, 10 miles an hour is kind of getting towards the top end.
Okay.
I mean, probably about 5 mile an hour tailwinds. I mean, perfect. But the problem's when you start getting crosswinds and headwinds. Yeah.
In comparison, just imagine trying to run with a 4x8 sheet of plywood into the wind, or with a crosswind, or with a tailwind. It's almost the same with that pole.
Wow!
So it does catch the wind.
Like you said, a sail. Kind of running with a sail. That's amazing.
Do you prefer indoor or outdoor?
They both have their pros and cons. I like indoors a lot because it's just all constant. I mean, there's no wind factor that you got to deal with or any weather. But I do like outdoors a lot just because I like being outside a lot. I mean, I like being under the sun. I mean, it always feels good. But I've always liked outdoor season. But I think it's just because I like the weather outside.
Yep.
Like just staying outside in the sun. It's just nice outside.
Sure.
Getting the vitamin D in, you always feel pretty good. But it's hard to say not indoors just because it's so it's just all the same every time.
How do your goals adjust moving from indoor to outdoor?
I mean, my goals are just, they still kind of just, they're not too different. I would, the goal kind of right now is indoors. I would like to jump 6:02 in Arkansas and break the American record. But obviously if that doesn't happen, it's okay. I've had a pretty good indoor season.
Pretty good.
But moving into outdoors, my goal kind of changes to 6:07 because the American record outdoors is 6:06. So, it's just one of those things. If you get one of those tailwind days, perfect day, 6:07 is not out of the question.
Wow. Fantastic.
So where are you right now? Like, where do you sit usually for outdoor?
I haven't had an outdoor season in so long, I don't know.
True.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
I don't
Last
even
year
know
was
what my mark is on outdoors. I think it's 5:82 from short run, so 19:1 from a mid run.
You're sitting number 1 in the NCAA right now, number 1 in the Big 12, obviously, number 3 in the world. When you start talking about world rankings, obviously you think about the Olympics coming up, delayed, postponed from last year, from 2020 to 2021. And I know that is very high on your list of goals and, hopefully achievements is to make the Olympic team. Yeah,
that's the big meet of the year for sure. I have my spot for the Olympic trials already, so we're just kind of training until then, trying to peak right there.
And when will that be?
It's June, late June.
It's the week after NC's.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Did it with the postponement from last year? How'd you handle that? How'd that affect you, if at all?
It didn't really affect me in any too bad of a way. I knew the Olympics was going to probably get postponed. So, but for me, in my situation, it was almost a good thing because, I'm still young.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only 21. So last year I was a 20-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So I was jumping pretty good last year too. I was jumping 19 foot pretty consistently. So that's a good mark. But I knew now that I have this extra year, I got a lot of room to grow and mature even more, and that's kind of what I did. I improved my jump a lot. So now it's taking that consistency from 580 to 590, 595 kind of deal. So it helps me for sure. But yeah, I can see a lot of other people's aspects too, because if you're closing in on, say, the end of your career, right. That extra year, it's a long. It feels like a long year.
Sure.
So it'd be really tough to try to peak yet again for somebody who's kind of nearing the end.
Who's your main competition to make the U.S. team?
Oh man, the U.S. is stacked right now. But I guess the big ones, we get to take 3 to the Olympic Games. So I guess right now, Chris Nielsen, Sam Kendricks, Jacob Wooten, Zach Bradford. We're the U.S. is stacked right now. So
yeah.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
That's great competition.
Yes.
It is, but anything can happen at nationals. Through the years I've been doing this, these big meets, the trials, national championships, you always want to go in being a little bit conservative and don't count your chickens before they're hatched, so to speak, because anything can happen. But with this kid, I mean, let's be honest, with his average, he's about 10, 15 centimeters above everyone else collegiately. In the elite level, he's still leading the pack fairly well. I mean, Kendricks and Nielsen, these other guys. Nielsen's jumped to 595.
93.
Right? 93. But they're going to have to step it up. I mean, he's putting the pressure on them for sure.
Wow. That is wild.
I love that. Very proud to have you here.
The trials in June are where? Are they in Eugene or where?
They are in Eugene.
Okay, out there. The mecca of college track and field out there. Well, it's great to visit with you guys. We appreciate it. Continued success. Congratulations, KC, on what you've already accomplished. And Brandon, congratulations on your students and what they continue to do. And it's great to visit with you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, John.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, absolutely. And keeping on, because y'all are repping Baylor extremely well, and we're very grateful that we were able to, y'all were able to squeeze us in.
Thanks to KC Lightfoot being with us, Baylor junior pole vaulter, and Brandon Richards, Baylor pole vault coach. For Brooke Bednarz, I'm John Morris. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week with another edition of the Sikkim Podcast.
You've been listening to the Sikkim Podcast, presented by your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Online at AlanSamuelsDCJ.com. The Sikkim Podcast has been a production of Baylor Athletics.